So good morning students. Today I will start another important topic of the cardiovascular system, which is important which is responsible for the mortality and morbidity of the cardiovascular disease, which is the esters of your alcohol and the fatty acids. These lipids are not soluble in water and they are source of the energy, they are stored in the body. The lipid, it may be simple lipid, it may be compound lipid, or it may be neutral lipid. Simple lipid may be monosaturated or the unsaturated one, saturated. It may be monosaturated, one bond is saturated, or it may be polyunsaturated. This is called the MUSA, MUSA, and this is the PUSA, unsaturated fatty acid, PUFA and MOFA. Now the compound lipids are the sulfur lipids and the phospholipids, and the neutral lipids are cholesterol ester, and the triglyceride. And this is mainly responsible for the genesis of this atherosclerotic formation. Now, the lipid, as I said, is a water insoluble. They cannot move into water, into the circulation. In order to make it soluble in water, it has to combine with some other substances, what we call as the lipoproteins. Now, how the lipoproteins look like? So it has got an inner hydrophobic group, hydrophobic side, which is surrounded by the hydrophilic sides. Now, the hydrophilic component of the lipoproteins are the apoproteins. It contains the phospholipid, it contains the esterified cholesterol, and this makes an interface so that the lipid can move into the circulation. Now, in order to understand the pathology of the atherosclerosis and the different drugs which are effective in the treatment of the hyperlipidemic condition, one must have a knowledge of the metabolism of the lipoproteins. Now, the lipoproteins or the lipids in the circulation has got the two sources. Number one is called the exogenous source, and obviously this is the diet. Now, from the diet, what happens? It is being absorbed through the gut mucosa. So the cholesterol is absorbed through the gut mucosa with the help of a protein called Niemann-Pick C protein, which helps in the absorption of this cholesterol. Now, after being absorbed, this cholesterol and triglyceride, they form chylomicron, and this chylomicron has got a lipoprotein, and that lipoprotein is B48. So the B48 is a lipoprotein which is generated from the gut, which helps in the formation of the chylomicron. Chylomicron is one fraction of the lipoproteins, and now this chylomicron, it receives a lipoprotein from the HDL, and the lipoprotein of the HDL, what it supplies from the HDL, ApoC is supplies to the chylomicron portion, and when the ApoC combines with the chylomicron and it goes to the circulation into capillary endothelium, what happens? There's an activation of an enzyme called lipoprotein lipase. Now, this lipoprotein lipase, it hydrolyzes the triglyceride, so only cholesterol remains there, and if the part of the triglyceride remains there, we call it the chylomicron remnant, and this chylomicron remnant and the cholesterol, they are received by liver. The cholesterol, triglyceride, and the cholesterol esters, the neutral lipids, they are insoluble in water. In order to make it soluble in the water, it has to combine with the lipoproteins. Now, what are the lipoproteins responsible for the movement of the triglyceride and the cholesterol which is generated from the diet? It involves the B48 and it produces the chylomicron. It goes to the circulation. In the circulation, from the HDL, it receives ApoC. This ApoC is involved in the activation of lipoprotein lipase. So, the lipoprotein lipase breaks triglyceride, and this triglyceride when this is broken, it produces the energy, and that energy is required for the movement of different activities. Now, the cholesterol becomes a cholesterol remnant, and other cholesterol, it goes to the liver, and this is one of the sources of the cholesterol in the liver. So, this fraction we call as an exogenous hyperlipidemic agent. Now, some of the cholesterol, number one, it may go as per se as such. When it goes, it stimulates liver to produce very low density, and this VLDL in the same way. What is the lipoproteins involved here? B100. So the B100, here it was B48. Now B100, like in the same way, goes to the circulation where it is being activated by ApoC to produce activate lipoprotein lipase, and in the same way, if all this contains more of your triglyceride as compared to chylomicron, it contains more triglyceride and it contains more cholesterol. After being metabolism, some portion, if all the triglyceride is removed, we call as a LDL. If some of the triglyceride remains inside, we call as a IDL. So IDL is intermediate density lipoprotein. If all the triglyceride is metabolized, we call as a LDL, and if some of the triglyceride remains, we call it the IDL. In the same way, if all the is metabolized, it goes per se as such, or it may be chylomicron remnant. So this is how the metabolism of the lipoprotein lipase occurs. This LDL, this VLDL, this chylomicron, they are responsible for movement of the cholesterol to the periphery. Now from the periphery to the circulation, what happens? Cholesterol which is stuck in the endothelium has to be removed, and this removal is done with the help of a protein, what we call as a CETP, cholesterol ester transfer protein. This is called ABC protein ABC1 that transfers this one, and after it comes to the circulation, here it is esterified with the help of lecithin cholesterol acetyl transferase. So this is now esterified with the help of an enzyme lecithin cholesterol acetyl transferase. This is again converted to IDL and ultimately goes inside the circulation. Therefore, VLDL is good because it takes away the bad cholesterol or the cholesterol being deposited inside the endothelial cells from the periphery to the circulation. Now, what is the source of cholesterol in the liver then? Number one, it can get cholesterol from the chylomicron remnant, it can get the cholesterol from VLDL, or it can produce cholesterol per se with the help of HMG-CoA. HMG. What is HMG? 3-hydroxy, 3-methyl glutaryl CoA. From this, it produces malonic acid, and malonic acid is ultimately converted to cholesterol. So, what are the different sources of cholesterol? From the exogenous source, from the endogenous source of VLDL, and this activity of HMG-CoA is maximized at the night. Clear? Keeping this in mind, there are certain terminologies. So what he can say? Hypolipidemic agent is a misnomer, because there are certain lipids which is good for the health, and therefore dyslipidemia is the better terminology compared to the hyperlipidemic. Now, what are the different varieties of hyperlipidemic condition? It may be primary. Primary means the cause is, it may be genetic, or it may be secondary. Secondary to some disease like diabetes, secondary to somebody taking oral contraceptive pill or the beta blocker. Then there is a chance of hyperlipidemia. What are the different fractions of lipoproteins? It may be chylomicron, VLDL, IDL, LDL, HDL. And this classification is called Fredrickson's classification, isn't it? So increment of the HDL is good, and decrement all other factors are good for the health. Now, what will be your strategy? Your strategy for treatment will be, number one, diet. So what diet I will suggest? It should be full in roughage and free from fatty acids. So these are the ज़्यादा तेल मत खाइए, free, decrease, roughage. Roughage is first. Food should be full in calorie. Number two, exercises, lifestyle changes. Lifestyle change. So these are the some strategies without medication. Now, what are the medications what you can use here? Many medicines are coming up, since it is a very burning topic, because hypercholesteremia may lead to the two different important variety of disease. One is the cardiovascular disease, ischemic heart disease, or it may be due to cerebrovascular disease. It may cause stroke in the brain. Older drug I will cover today, and the newer drug I will cover in the next lecture. Now, if you see my first picture, the source of the cholesterol. So this is intestine, this is the brass border, and here there is the protein involved. What is the protein we called? Niemann-Pick. And this protein can be blocked by a drug called ezetimibe, isn't it? So it can be blocked by ezetimibe, and the dose is 10 milligrams. In the same way, the stanols are also acting in the same way. They inhibit the absorption of the cholesterol or the fat, like ezetimibe. Now, in order for the absorption of the fat, the biles are required. Now, there are certain drugs which sequester the bile salt sequester, like cholestyramine. What it does? It sequesters the bile salt, and as a consequence, what happens? There will be more production of, it inhibits, it sequesters the bile salt, so the fat cannot be absorbed, and what happens? There will be more production of the different receptors, which will ultimately prevent the hyperlipidemic condition. So this is your hepatocyte, which is a hexagonal cell where HMG is ultimately from malonic acid. HMG is produced, which is converted to cholesterol. So you are blocking this so that there is no cholesterol is produced, and the drugs are statins. The different statins are, the long acting is atorvastatin, which can be given anytime. As I said, statins are most effective in night, so the small acting, small T-half statins are to be given in the evening, and the long actings are given anytime. So when the chylomicron or the VLDL comes to the circulation, the capillary, where it is being acted by lipoprotein lipase. And the more this lipoprotein lipase is activated, there will be more removal of your triglyceride, and the drugs is your clofibret, and this lipoprotein lipase is activated by PPAR alpha. PPAR alpha. What is PPAR alpha? It's a peroxisome proliferator activated alpha, and its function is to increase the lipoprotein lipase activity. And what it does, it provides more lipoproteins from the HDL, which will stimulate the LDA, like the ApoC, and which inhibits the LDA activity. And the drugs are gemfibrozole, famotidine, clofibrate. These are all drugs which are lipoprotein lipase activator. Now there is another group of drugs which is a vitamin, and its is very peculiar. Nicotinic acid decreasing VLDL, and when VLDL is decreased, naturally the other product of VLDL is also decreased. But one of the important side effect of this is the flushing and pruritus, and it is said to be due to prostaglandin. So you can have a inhibitor of the prostaglandin, that is your aspirin. You can give in the dose of 80 to 325 milligram, or you can add laropiprant, which is a 20 milligram. It is available as a 20 milligram. These two are combined. So the 1 gram of nicotinic acid can be combined together, and this is your prostaglandin PGD inhibitor. So this is in brief the different drugs, different old drugs which are effective in the treatment of hyperlipidemic condition.